Prominent US and European officials are accusing the Syrian President Al-Assad of using chemical weapons against the civilian population. And with this in mind, the American president is on the verge to take military action against Syria. So, how would such a scenario play out? And what kind of repercussions and consequences should we take into consideration? This is a Caspian report by me, Shirwan. So, the obvious military mission would be the destruction of chemical weapons and their deployment systems. The latter is where it gets complicated, because Syria can launch chemical attacks from the ground and from the air. But considering the fact that the rebel forces have control over large portions of land, the most effective deployment system would be the use of aircrafts. So that means a US-led coalition which targets the Syrian airfields, weapon depots, and military institutions, governmental offices, etc. My point is that this operation isn't just limited to the destruction of chemical weapons. In fact, US cruise missiles would be pointed directly at Al-Assad's palace, the Syrian intelligence agency, the headquarters of the military general staff, and the HQ of the Special Forces Command, and many more. Now, by taking out these targets, the US renders the Syrian government's deployment capabilities obsolete. This all sounds good on paper, and that's why so many American lawmakers feel comfortable with the plan. But in reality, Al-Assad is fully aware of this strike plan. That's why the chemical weapons are stockpiled underground throughout the country. And the fact is that none of the European and American intelligence agencies have reliable intel to confirm the hidden locations. So using cruise missiles to hit every individual target is going to get really expensive. And this raises another problem, the battle damage assessment. Without troops on the ground, it's extremely difficult to confirm that the destroyed target really did contain the chemical weapons, especially because the reliability of the intel is sketchy at best. Black Ops or not, either way somebody is going to have to send troops over there. Plus, hitting all the rumored targets will likely kill more civilians than the chemical bombs did in the first place, because some chemical weapons like sarin vaporize quickly when hit with a missile, but others like mustard gas are just pushed out into the air and dispersed over the region. And given the fact that many of the targets are close to civilian areas, it actually endangers the lives of everyone in the immediate proximity. Just imagine how the PR campaign of this would turn out. US goes in to stop chemical weapons, ends up killing more than the bombs themselves. This would obviously damage the international reputation and credibility of the US government. One more point I want to raise is that by conducting airstrikes, the US will be severely punishing Al-Assad, and this would leave Syria no room to retreat. Think about it. The only reason Al-Assad has been so hesitant to use chemical weapons is because of the possible US intervention it would trigger. But once the US intervenes, all bets are off. There is simply nothing holding Al-Assad back from using the remainder of the chemical weapons before they are destroyed. And as you can imagine, things would spiral out of control very fast from there. Before you know it, the strictly missile-based operation turns into a full-scale invasion. And I haven't even started discussing the geopolitical blowback this would have in the region. Just imagine the Iranian, Russian, and Hezbollah response. These factions invested a lot of time and money in Al-Assad, and they're not going to sit idly by while Obama attacks Syria. For example, Hezbollah will start taking American hostages in Beirut, and Russia will further enhance its credibility in the Middle East and quite possibly sell some high-tech missiles to American rivals in the region. This isn't just about Syria anymore. Syria is just the battleground for other countries. But the problem here is that the US has little choice in the matter. Obama has worked itself against the corner. If the US does not respond to the violation of the red line, then American credibility will sink in the eyes of major powers. Countries like Iran, Russia, China, and North Korea will see this as a sign of weakness and further test the American-imposed red lines in their respective regions. Just imagine North Korea calling America's bluff by creating a nuclear-armed missile. It is this kind of miscommunication that will lead to serious blowbacks for the US in the short and long term. The point here is that in geopolitics, integrity is everything. Just imagine how the Cold War would have turned out if both superpowers crossed each other's red lines. So right now, after all the tough speeches, the US has little choice in the Syrian matter. And whatever happens, conflict is on the American horizon. This was a Caspian Report by me, Shirvan. Thank you for watching, and Saul.